Saddle up, because the intel coming your way is about to radically shift your entire outlook on Denver's off-season strategy. Behind closed doors, the dialogue isn't simply regarding growth. It focuses on making the agonizing, brutal calls. You are staring down critical verdicts regarding the future of your backfield rotation. You are evaluating a tight end room that fell short of the hype and a linebacker core defined by heart but plagued by financial and physical uncertainties. Rest assured, the specific way this franchise navigates these three key sectors will dictate if 2026 marks a massive leap ahead or a devastating regression. Before diving into the deep end, you need to prove your absolute loyalty to this squad. If you bleed orange, smash that like button this instant. But only do so if you genuinely believe a Super Bowl return is imminent, and leave your mark below. Scream "Go Broncos" to show the world that your veins run cold with orange and blue. You need to demonstrate who has tracked every transaction and play this cycle, because the upcoming reality is dangerous, uncomfortable, and likely controversial. However, if the front office intends to complete this mission, several agonizing upgrades must occur, meaning beloved veterans might not survive the roster purge. Now, you are going to pinpoint exactly where the tension peaks and why these months define the franchise's next epoch. Begin with the backfield. As this sector sparks the fiercest debates, 2025 showcased Harvey, J.K. Dobbins, Jaleel McLaughlin, and Tyler Beatty. When the campaign launched, you felt palpable electricity regarding the potential dominance of this unit. Dobbins averaged nearly 78 yards weekly, posting over 700 rushing yards before his Week 10 injury. He ranked as the third-best rusher in the entire league at that moment. That is not a fluke, but undeniable dominance. Sean Payton made his stance crystal clear following the AFC Championship loss to New England. He refused to blame the ball carriers initially, turning his gaze immediately toward run-game coordinator Zach Strief. This signals that your head coach viewed the failure as a schematic execution flaw rather than a talent deficiency. A compelling case exists for retaining J.K. Dobbins and Harvey as your primary tandem. Dobbins proved to be a vital cultural asset while supplying the explosive spark your attack frantically required. Harvey remains untouchable, yet the depth chart presents a challenge. Justifying the exact same reserve lineup is nearly impossible. Late-season volatility revealed a critical lack of brute force and versatility within the backfield rotation. You must decide whether to acquire a massive, explosive bruiser to complement Harvey, or gamble that a recovered Dobbins and tactical shifts will solve the regression. That is the predicament you face. Shift your focus to the tight end position, as this verdict seems significantly more obvious. The 2025 roster featured Evan Engram, Adam Trautman, Lucas Kroll, Nate Adkins, and Mercedes Lewis. But the reality is, you simply must overhaul this unit. Engram played a mere 42% of snaps, which is baffling given his hype as the offensive joker. The intent upon his signing was to deploy a dynamic mismatch nightmare, yet his actual utilization rarely mirrored that ambition. Trautman, despite his reliability, secured only 20 receptions on 23 attempts and failed to eclipse 200 receiving yards. Such production is insufficient for a primary starter. However, this issue extends beyond simply acquiring a single body. You must commit genuine resources to this spot, as the scheme demands a bona fide aerial threat to prevent defenses from cheating. Denver's reliance on heavy personnel packages has grown dangerously easy to anticipate. Opponents identify these run-first formations lacking deep route trees and commit fully to stuffing the box, effectively strangling your consistency. Your remedy is to strike twice. Acquire a veteran via free agency or trade, then select a rookie with serious potential in the draft. You cannot scour the bottom of the draft barrel and expect to find a transformative star. The roster requires a permanent solution, particularly given Engram's expiring deal. Which brings us to the linebackers. This stands as arguably the most gut-wrenching evaluation of the entire offseason. The unit boasted Alex Singleton, Justin Strnad, Drake Greenlaw, Drew Sanders, and prospects like Lavelle Bailey. You see undeniable grit here. Singleton embodies resilience, yet financial logic often conflicts with sentimental value. Rumors indicate Singleton might demand roughly $14 million annually at the age of 33. That price is exorbitant, even with Bo Nix on a rookie deal, as the executives require cap fluidity, and Greenlaw's medical record adds complexity. Drew Sanders also struggles to stay on the field, and while Strnad has been your most steady performer, reliability alone does not capture championships. You sense this position requires a massive evolution, not merely depth, but game-changing impact. You need a field general capable of mastering the heart of Joseph's intricate defense while raising the entire unit's standard. Whether you find that spark in the open market or grab a rookie early, stagnation is simply not an option for this franchise. Remaining static might keep you in the hunt, but ruthless improvement is the only path to hoisting the trophy. This is where the pressure really mounts, because you cannot overlook the brutal reality of how the previous campaign concluded. You were knocking on the door, reaching the conference title bout and displaying glimpses of a truly dominant roster. Yet when the stakes peaked against New England with a ring within reach, your flaws were painfully exposed for the world to see. Your ground attack completely evaporated the moment Dobbins left the field with an injury. You failed to get any reliable nightmare matchups from the tight end spot throughout the year. While your linebackers played with heart, they lacked the game-changing plays and vocal command essential for high-stakes postseason survival. That is precisely why choosing between renovation and continuity is far more critical than it appears. So let us revisit the backfield situation. If you trust that Dobbins can maintain his pre-injury output, where he was tearing up defenses for nearly 78 yards per match, ranking top 3 through Week 10, then keeping him paired with Harvey as your main duo seems like a sound strategy, particularly since Payton identified blocking schemes and line play as the real culprits rather than the runners. However, you have to acknowledge the gamble, as a history of medical setbacks is woven into his career narrative. These issues have plagued him, forcing you to question if relying on a clean bill of health is wise while your title window is wide open. If you genuinely believe a return trip to the conference finals is destiny, you absolutely cannot leave such a vital component to luck. Shift your focus to the tight end room, because this is where you will find the most pressing need for immediate action. Seeing Engram on the field for merely 42% of offensive plays was easily one of the most baffling stats of the year. You simply do not recruit a talent like that, promise him a hybrid weapon role, and then vanish him during crucial sequences. You must resolve that strategic failure immediately, as Trautman had a clear assignment but offered very little actual output. 20 grabs on 23 looks for less than 200 yards does absolutely nothing to scare a coordinator. When opponents do not respect that position, they shrink the map, suffocate your run lanes, and squat on your outside passing lanes. Every yard becomes a struggle, meaning a new tight end is not just roster filler, but a tool to dictate how the enemy defends you. You want to freeze safeties in their tracks, opening up rushing lanes and giving Nix the freedom to dissect the middle of the field. Now you land on the linebacker core, the very pulse that keeps your defensive unit alive and fighting. Singleton offers undeniable command and non-stop hustle, while Stronad has displayed a steady hand when called upon. You signed Greenlaw for a specific purpose, yet you must face the harsh truths regarding his durability, age, and cap hit. If Singleton is actually demanding $14 million annually at 33 years old, you are looking at a massive investment. Although nobody doubts his grit, you have to weigh future cap space, especially since having Nix on a rookie deal gives you leverage. You have a rare opening that requires calculated spending to exploit, particularly because Joseph runs such a sophisticated defensive scheme. Greenlaw compared grasping the playbook to learning a foreign language, proving just how much brainpower and chatter are needed to execute it. Therefore, acquiring a linebacker is not merely about speed, but about finding a durable shot caller with high football intellect. This brings you to the overarching reality that you need to deeply consider right now. You did not stumble into the conference title game by luck, but you also failed to win it, creating a seductive urge to think you have already arrived. You might want to keep the band together, but assuming close is sufficient is a trap, as winning franchises never rest on their laurels. You must be fierce, assessing your roster without mercy and stripping away all emotional attachments to players. You pinpoint exactly where output failed, where schemes got stale, and where health issues left you vulnerable. Then you fix them aggressively. Maintaining the status quo keeps you in the mix, but calculated improvements are what finally push you over the championship hump. There is another crucial factor you cannot overlook, which is that momentum in this league is incredibly delicate. You can play for the conference title one year and find yourself scraping just to make the wild card the very next. The gap between those two fates is usually determined by the specific personnel choices you make during these critical months. If you opt for stability in the backfield, you are wagering everything on injury luck, player growth, and playbook tweaks. You are banking on Harvey evolving his blocking and sightlines and praying that Dobbins comes back completely dynamic and explosive following that serious Lisfranc injury.